Namaskar, Pranam, and a very good evening. A very warm welcome from the entire Vidya family. I am Rashmi Misra, the founder and president of Vidya, and I'm completely honored and delighted to welcome you, a great spiritual guide, a social reformer, and educationist, Shri M, to Vidya's fireside chat with a very engaging topic, the teacher and the taught, with Shrikrishna Kulkarni as the moderator, who will be addressing questions also sent by the Vidya family. A very warm welcome to all our participants who have registered from far and near to hear Sri M this evening. Teachers, students, partners of Vidya, and many well-wishers from around the world who are eager to learn from an enlightened teacher like you. Let's get ready for a very special evening. The growth of India depends on high quality education, and we at Vidya are taking very small steps in that direction. India has the largest youth population of the world, a veritable army of 600 million young people under the age of 25. And our statistics remind us that we are far away from our goal of an educated India. As a social movement solely focused on upliftment through education, we ask how Vidya can work on producing better citizens and leaders through our holistic learning programs. Our passionate teachers fill many shoes in the lives of the less privileged, hand holding every child through school and life lessons. They seek to learn the way of raising incredible teachers who will illuminate a better tomorrow. Robert Frost once said, I am not a teacher, but an awakener. Sir, it will be an honor to have your wisdom, learning, and experience guide us in all aspects of the teacher and the taught, and offer insights that will empower us to walk as better teachers in the world of education. We seek your blessings for the same. To share a little about Vidya with you, we at Vidya have spent the last 35 years working on building successful and respected citizens of India's underprivileged communities across the country, and work tirelessly towards our mantra, which is educate, empower, and transform. Starting with just five little girls in 1985, Vidya works across five metros on 75 projects and has touched the lives of over 375,000 children, youth, and women with an amazing team of committed teachers and volunteers. Vidya's learning models inculcate knowledge, skill, and right attitude. Our mission is to create leaders, responsible citizens, and individuals who will be role models for communities and bring a positive social change. The Vidya School Gurugram is our flagship program. The school provides a cutting-edge curriculum, free of cost almost, with over 1,100 children and youth who would otherwise have no access to a high-quality holistic education. Vidya students not only master the core subjects matter required by the CBSE board, but they also get advanced training in the field of computer science, robotics, innovation, as well as sports and extracurricular activities. Our dream is to create the next generation of creative thinkers who will break the barriers and make the nation proud. We are happy to share that 100% of our graduates are admitted into university and colleges. We are a zero dropout school with 10% of our children qualifying Mensa every year. Our Vidya students speak impeccable English, are well versed in IT, and confident and have huge dreams, and are really concerned on how they can contribute to build a better India. They are leaders of their communities as well as the universities where they study. Vidya has focused on an integrated education. We empower children, youth, and women with knowledge and skills. We help them understand not only their rights, but very much their responsibilities. We give them the confidence to stand up as equals to those who have had much more privilege. And we teach them the importance of helping their communities advance, not just themselves. The Vidya dream is still to be realized. We would like to see an India where every child gets a quality education, where every youth gets an opportunity to succeed, and every woman achieve economic and social independence. Every Indian can and should aspire to become as successful and respected. This is our vision, and I am proud to say that we have made progress towards this vision. I am now honored to introduce Guru Shri M, who really actually needs no introduction. Guruji was awarded the prestigious Padma Bhushan this year, a spiritual master, a householder's yogi, a social reformer, and a teacher by heart. His transformational journey from a young boy to a living yogi is a fascinating story which symbolizes single minded dedication and discipline. The two unique schools you have founded, the Satsang Vidyalaya for rural children and the People's Grove School, are role model schools, and we know that you have great love for children and education. The Walk of Hope, the Padayatra for peace and harmony that you covered 7,500 kilometers in 474 days across 11 states, 86 districts, and reached out to 10 million people. It is always enlightening to hear you, and we seek your blessings, sir. We are also delighted to have Shrikrishna Kulkarni as our moderator. He is the chairperson, Board of Governors, Indian Institute of Management, Calcutta. He worked with his guru, Sri M, on the entire work of hope and comes from a great lineage, being the great grandson of Mahatma Gandhi. Our closing remarks is by Tara Kinney. Tara is a consultant in education and music and taught physics and music for 20 years. Taraji is the founder and director of Sunad, a music collective which has held over 80 shows on Isha Rumi, Swar Katha Upanishad, the Manduka Santvani, with the inspiration and guidance of Sri M. Taraji is also a very special friend of Vidya. On behalf of the Vidya family, 6 of our teachers will be asking questions today. A few housekeeping rules before we start. You are welcome to put your questions in the Q&A box, but not in the chat box. We may not be able to address them today because of the shortage of time, but we will share it with you, Guruji, in your office and request whenever it's convenient for you to give us some answers. Namaskar, and I hand over the mic to Krishnaji. Thank you.
Thank you, Rashmi. Namaskar, my teacher, my guru. At the very first, I offer my pranams to all the viewers across the world who have shared their valuable time. Sri M or M, he's my teacher. I consider him my teacher, my guru. I would like to offer my prayers to my teacher. This prayer is from the Sri Guru Gita. It tries to express the gunas of the supreme loving teacher, the Satguru, the teacher of all teachers, the teacher of all. Brahmanandam Paramasukhadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Tvandvatvitam Gaganasadrusham Tattvamasya Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Sir, my pranams to you. Mrs. Rashmi just introduced Sir, so I don't really need to get into the details. But because it is students and teachers, I would like to underline that it was Sir's single-minded discipline and dedication that helped him transform into a living yogi. So it is single-minded discipline and dedication. It doesn't come across like that, but that's the key behind his being what he is. Um, he allowed me the privilege to walk with him on foot from Kanyakumari to Srinagar, and it was 476 days. Although I never saw Gandhiji, but you must accept my submission that Gandhiji, in his essence, was a serious spiritual aspirant who was thrust into the socio-political role. And for me, M is a living Gandhiji. He embodies all aspects of Gandhiji and more. His looks are deceptive. They hide from us. And unlike Gandhiji, M is a person who has realized the self. He has had Atma Sakshatkaram. He has touched the supreme, all-pervading consciousness. So he's more than Gandhiji. And I'm very fortunate to be just in his presence. We have a large audience today, so I will start right away. Sir, today the average age of the children is 14, and there's a large number of teachers. So the topic is the teacher and the taught. So I'm going to get into the meaning of education. Today we seem to assess the value of education in the same manner as we assess our assets or the value of shares in the stock market. So, and we wish to provide for our children such education so that they can earn more and more. Would you like to comment, sir, on the meaning of education in both the temporal and spiritual matters, in whichever way you feel appropriate?
Well, we have only 1 hour, so I'm trying to keep it short. We can elaborate later. First of all, thank you, Krishna, for coming here. I wouldn't have recognized you with your beard. This lockdown, of course. Well, I would have seen it from your mischievous eyes. But so this question of education, it's been discussed many times by various teachers. So I would like to look at it from the perspective of the ancient teachings of this land where we are born and which sustains us and where we live. And here, education is unfolding of the inner rather than gathering of information. Let me put it this. There is a beautiful Upanishad among the principal Upanishads. I hope the kids understand. A simple language. Don't try to by heart any words. There's a beautiful Upanishad among the 11 principal Upanishads called the Mundaka Upanishad, where there is a discussion between the teacher and the taught on what is knowledge. Well, when you say education, you're also thinking of knowledge, right? You need to learn. The teacher needs to learn before he educates the student. I also believe that the teacher also should become a student for a while to his teacher before he learns. So a good student, according to me, would be a good teacher. If the good student is no good, then he cannot become a teacher. So in Mundaka Upanishad, on the discussion on knowledge, the disciple asks the teacher, "Sir, what is knowledge?" So the teacher says, I'm trying to not bring in names and so on. The teacher says, there are two kinds of knowledge. One is knowledge which is called the lower knowledge, apara vidya. Vidya, apara vidya. And the other is called para vidya, higher knowledge. So the student says, can you give me a syllabus for apara vidya first, the lower knowledge, so that when I see higher knowledge, I can distinguish between the two. So the teacher says to the student, the teacher says to the taught, here is the list of lower knowledge, apara vidya. And what is the list? You will be shocked. Coming from Shruti, not my words. It starts like this. Lower knowledge. Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda, Atharvana Veda. And so on. In spite of the fact that the Upanishad is also part of the Veda. Yes, of course. You can't deny that. And then it goes on to the word, the Veda Angas like Jyotisha and so on, Ganita and so on and so forth. So the student is stumped. He says, then all the list I have is all the things which I thought was higher knowledge. Now you are saying it is lower knowledge. I mean, he doesn't say that. So he says, so what is higher knowledge? Higher knowledge is that by which you find the absolute truth. Now wait a minute. This does not mean that you are not supposed to study the Vedas or the Upanishads, because what is said has come in the Upanishad, which is from the Vedas. What it means is, even that, if it becomes merely a scholarly study, just to show how knowledgeable one is with the scriptures, about such people the same Upanishad says, if a person who thinks he knows everything because he has read all the scriptures becomes a teacher, then you would have thought Shakespeare said this first. No, it is said in the Upanishad. Andhaina vaniyamana yatandaha, the blind leading the blind. So, even if you know all this, if it does not lead to the truth, it is still lower knowledge. So what could truth be here? For me, truth would be the unfolding of the inner core of one's being. Need not necessarily be spiritual. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's a exploration into the inner depths of one's mind. When that happens, you see many jewels lying there untouched, like the pearl in the ocean. You need to dive. To me, any study or any way that this is encouraged is education. So let me put it this way, it's more unfolding and growing from inside than putting in information. Information is necessary, I am not saying it's not. But then today, how much information can we store which you don't have in Google? Today's God, capital G, is Google. Omniscient. Right? So education is rather how to become more intelligent than how to become more erudite. You know what I am trying to say? And a child who at a young age becomes intelligent, becomes erudite later very much more beautifully than the other person who has not opened up and educated. I mean, this is my view.
Sir, during when we were walking with you, sir, during the walk of hope, you know, you helped us experience what poverty was in certain ways, and we also had a safety net of our own, and we stayed out of our comfort zone for a very long time, and
Thank you.
we visited the so many villages. We understood what life was, and in the context of what you have just said, aparavidya and paravidya, and how does a student move towards that journey, it just came to my mind that would you think that the role of a teacher should also involve improving the character of the student, impart the knowledge of duty as a human being? Would you consider that as an important role?
Yes, but I would also add that all knowledge, whatever is taught, should be what you call a hands-on knowledge. See, when we walked during the walk, since you mentioned it, I didn't want to bring it, but you have mentioned. You see, our feet were on the ground for 1 year and 3 months, right? So because our feet were on the ground, I would give that as a good definition of down to earth. So, hands on understanding is necessary to bring about any change whatsoever, is what I feel. And yes, your duty to the world, your duty to your family, your duty to your teachers, your duty to the world at large, which is Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu, may the whole world be happy. This is our primary duty. To make your family happy, your neighbors happy, a larger part of society happy, and the whole world happy. This is not new word. I mean, these are not new things. Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu is 2000 years old. So it's merely old wine in new bottles, like Jesus said. So, yeah, so it's important. Yes, I agree with you.
No, in my discussions, whenever a few times I've had with you, you've always stressed that it was not just literacy. And today again, you're talking about Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu. And I've just recently got associated with the IITs and IIMs. I'm not from either an IIT or an IIM. And our citizens are typically extreme, among the sharpest minds in the world. I mean, you have Amartya
Yep.
Sen and Raghuram Rajan. But this society of ours still has deeply disturbing problems: endemic poverty, inequitable distribution of wealth, lack of access to quality healthcare. So, and we saw just recently thousands and thousands of our citizens walking across this nation, women and men. They were millions of brother and sister workers. And it was only because their employers and landlords had turned them out into the summer heat. So, what the question that came to me is when you said Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu, this, can virtue be taught? It is one thing to know that what is doing good, but it is quite another thing to act upon that knowledge. And would you give us some insights on that, sir?
Absolutely. First of all, virtue or compassion and things like that really cannot be cultivated. If you cultivate it, it's merely another one of the characters that you build up in your system. It's not natural. It should come from a deep feeling of the hurt which others feel. And it should start at home. If I'm not compassionate or concerned about my own home or people who live close to me, how am I going to be compassionate to the whole world? I can pretend to be compassionate. I can have a smile on my face. I can look at people with sparkling eyes. I can fondle a child in my lap. This is done every time the season for that vaccination comes. You see every chief minister carrying a baby and putting something in. Is that compassion? So compassion is, I think, you said education or education.
No, I said, yeah, virtue and
Virtue. Now, virtue is something that comes out of an inner understanding that we are all ultimately linked to each other. We are not independent units. If one goes wrong, the whole thing collapses. You cannot. We are all, this network of nature is not only human beings, is so well stitched together that if we don't realize this, then we are going to work independently and trying to think, we'll be happy, don't worry about the others. So when you look at it, you have to look at the whole network, this whole entire, you see, even the little insects that sit in the tree and chirp, they're part of the network. But when a mosquito bites, you need to kill it. I mean, there's nothing you can do. But as long as you don't save the mosquito and kill a human being, he's a much more developed unit.
So on this, I have a connected question, which I had the privilege of learning from you in a very personal way during the Walk of Hope, and that was, when we do good, there is a certain ahankar, there is a certain one-upmanship that comes
Yeah.
into us, and you had brought it to me without your words, but very, very physically, I felt it, and I'm ever so grateful for that. So, how does a teacher have any role in teaching how to serve others, not just selflessly, but without the least feeling of one-upmanship?
Very simple. The teacher has to be like that. Look, it's like
Right, sir.
the young people, I'm sure Vidya has many young people. Now the young ones are very intelligent, very sharp. They will, in a second, they'll detect any hypocrisy. So when one day a teacher came to me, how do I handle the students? What should I teach? I said, teach, keep it, second part. First, you behave as you teach them first. Huh? Then they'll behave accordingly. Otherwise, in front of you, they may do what you say, but when they go back, they say, hey, this chap, we know him. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
I'm reminded of a person who went to a Sufi teacher and said with a child which was in the habit of eating mud. So the Sufi teacher was also a Hakim Sahib. So they went to him and said, please advise the child how to stop it. He said, come back after a week. He said, what, why you come back after a week? So they went back after. He said, from now on, don't eat mud. He said, well, you could have said that 1 week ago. He said, because I was eating mud. So first I have to stop before asking the child to do it. You know what I mean? So the teachers should set an example by his behavior, by the way he is, and then teach.
Right.
I know this is difficult, I know,
Yeah. Very difficult.
But it's true all the same.
Yes, right. Sir, I have one question now for something to the students. So when I was a student, I have known fear. I have known fear of failure, fear of rejection. And I realized today, after so many years, that fear is a constant companion in life. I also realized with your blessings that fear probably is one of those root emotions that results in other negative traits such as hatred, jealousy, and anger. So, how can a teacher help inculcate the ability to stand up to fear? And is there a role in formal curriculum to address this?
As of now, there is nothing like that in the curriculum. I don't know. I have not seen in any curriculum like a subject like how to address fear or something like that. Yeah, the army might teach you, or the air force might teach you to be fearless, but that's a different story.
Right.
That's different. Now, first thing to understand is fear. Now, fear is a common factor for all human beings. What you fear may be different from what I fear. The object or the subject of fear may be different. But fear, everybody has. And part of the fear, of course, is physical fear, which is for built into the system to protect our bodies. We are afraid of falling down and so on. I mean, that is okay. That is on the physical level. Psychological fear is the danger. The problem is psychological fear. Now, I don't think there is a blanket method of getting rid of this fear, because while fear is common for all human beings, in individuals, each individual has a different relationship to fear. It's not the same thing. So, to do that, first we have to look at ourselves properly to see our fear, how it operates under circumstances, and therefore pinpoint why it arises. I can't give you a general statement on this. If I have a fear of the darkness, for instance, suppose, I don't, but I'm saying suppose, then I need to actually go out into the dark and see why I am afraid of the dark. I can't sit at home and try to work out ways and means to get out. And if I don't know, I cannot teach the student. So, one advice I would give to young people is that if you want to get rid of fear, face fear in the face. Not putting your body in danger, no, no, no. It's a complete, I'm talking psychological fear. If you have fear of exams, face it squarely. Say, I have fear, agree first. Yes, I have fear. Don't cover it up with anything. Say, now I have fear, but I'm going to handle this. I'm going to face it. When I take out my book, when I go for the exam, let me watch myself, how fear comes to me. Actually, fear, anger, jealousy, they are all connected together, interlinked. So, what you said before kind of strikes a chord in me, which is, I learnt it with my master, Maheshwarnath Babaji, whose teaching methods were very, very different. And what I have learnt is that the psychological study of the student and also the teacher has to be part of educational curriculum. It has not come into any curriculums. It has to become. And for that you need help from philosophers, psychologists, counselors, psychiatrists. They should all, sometimes even neurologists. We should sit down and work out a curriculum in a simple manner, of course, by which these essential emotions of fear, anger, jealousy can be handled. No, for that first to discover why they come, how they come, and to be familiar with them. Because if you are not familiar, how will you handle something?
Right.
So let's make a curriculum. Now, you should first try in the IIM. I know it's tough, but
So I'll have, we are talking about education, paravidya, aparavidya, service, how to do good. So, as Rashmi was talking about her students, and she wanted them to be leaders, to be so many things. But my question, very normal question, is that education today, even when I was studying, is not for the majority of students. It's a burden, actually. It's not fun. It doesn't seem to nourish our souls. Many are unable to cope with it. I know personally people who have gone to the extent of contemplating suicide. My classmate committed suicide. He couldn't handle it. And we also know from experience that students' interest in a subject is sustained not by the subject matter, but by the teacher. So
Exactly.
my question is, what can a teacher do to help students reclaim their sense of freedom, start their journey that leads to freedom? True freedom must give joy, shouldn't it, sir?
You're right, absolutely right. You know why people get allergic to a certain subject or to studies? Because the teacher is not competent. If the teacher is interesting and if he knows or she knows how to make a subject interesting, then you will never forget it.
Right.
So try to make it interesting. Whatever you teach in the class, you have skits and single scene dramas or things like that, so the children actually get interested in it. I was talking to my son the other day. I don't want to be personal, but he said, I said, how are you good at maths? And he went to a very good school, one of the cream schools. He went to, I don't want to say the name of the school because I don't want to bring down the ref. So when I asked him, how did you do maths? He said, terrible. I didn't study maths. I said, why? Because he said, from the beginning, all the maths teachers were terrible. So we were not even interested in maths. So he never could get the interest in maths. On the other hand, the subjects where the teacher were good, he grasped and he became truly interested. Literature. I'm not boasting, but
No, no.
literature was taught by his own mother.
No, I remember coming to the book launch.
Yeah. So he's a novelist now at this age, 30, 29. So, so you see this. The teacher should be able to sustain the interest of the child. Then no subject is difficult. There's no fear. You should have the freedom to do that. Like Shanti Niketan, now no, but in the beginning, classes used to be outdoors. Teachers used to sit. See, it makes a lot of difference to pick up a leaf actually from the floor and say, ah, this is a leaf, instead of just drawing it on the board and saying, this is a leaf. I cannot, one of my teachers, English teacher, was such an interesting man that I cannot forget anything that he taught.
Right.
I, so, he taught us the poem Skylark. I can never forget it. So, the teacher should work hard on himself or herself to make the subject that is being taught interesting to the student. Who wants to study a subject? Many, often I used to sit in my classroom looking out of the window wondering why the hell am I sitting here? There are these village kids playing outside. So, teaching should be, it should be interesting. It should be like a free game. See, some geniuses in maths, there are some.
Right.
They're built like that also, partly.
Right.
You ask them, talk to them, they'll tell you they had interesting maths teachers who really linked maths or algebra to their lives.
Yes.
Till I reached college, I was not interested in math. When I reached college, we had a father, a Jesuit father, who taught us the set theory and so on, advanced theories, calculus. Then I got interested because it was like Vedanta.
Right. Sir, but there is one question I have. We spoke about the role of teachers. This is also has a role of teachers. But again, during the walk, you have always told us that Nairantarya Dirghakala Abhyasena is extremely important.
True.
But as students, even at this age, so I'm asking this specifically for younger age kids, how can a teacher inculcate? Is there a role for a teacher to inculcate some kind of self-discipline, or is it to be done entirely by the self?
No. The teacher should be disciplined first.
Very true.
If the teacher is not disciplined, it will sound so hollow when you teach the student.
The hypocrisy.
Yeah, it's hollow. So, why I'm saying, even if the child doesn't discover it,
Right.
when you try to teach them discipline, it has no conviction yourself. So, one has to be disciplined in some way or the. I'm not saying everybody should be like. I don't believe in sleeping with women to prove that you are a brahmachari. No, I'm not talking about that.
Right.
You know what I mean. But I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying. So, I hope you understood what I'm trying
I
to say.
understood, sir.
And the kids might have understood it better if they're around.
Yes, yes. So I have one question here, which again I thought of in the context of the time that we are in. You know, the object of education to serve a nation, nationalism is what I
Yeah.
thought of. And then I thought that our Prime Minister, Narendra Bhai, has articulated this dire need for swachhata. During the walk, you brought home to us the dire need for cleanliness at the national level and also at the personal level. So similarly, at the present, you know, we have this situation at the Ladakh border, and that has opened this debate on self-reliance, which is Atmanirbharta. So these issues touch the very corner of our core of our nation. In that context, I was just wondering, is it correct to argue that one of the objects of education is to serve the nation, inculcate a spirit of nationalism, exercising self-choice, swechha, and commitment, pratibadhata, to achieve, say, swachhata and atmanirbharta? I mean, are there anything, I mean, what is the role of a teacher in imparting a sense of commitment to these fundamental duties? I always hear people talk about fundamental rights, but very few talk about fundamental duties. Would you like to say something on that, share with us, sir?
Yes. The thing is, much of the education which we have even in India today is a result of exposure to the Western mode of education. Yeah. Even today I'm speaking in English because of Western mode. But it's a good communication device, language, I agree. But with the result that what has happened is some people have lost their soul to that system. No more are they thinking of their country. It's as if you think of your country, it's a crime. There are some people who think like that. The other day I was talking to somebody and they said, oh, patriotism is glorified tribalism. I said, wait a minute. Which world are you living in, man? Huh?
Yes, I understand.
So, so we look that we are modern in our outlook need not mean that we should forget our roots.
Right,
I'm not saying you should wear your nationalism on your sleeve. That's not what I'm saying.
right.
What I'm saying is there should be an inbuilt system, inbuilt feeling of offering thanks to the earth, to the country where you were born, which fed you and which has brought you up here.
Absolutely.
That thankfulness then should translate itself into trying to protect that nation which has looked after me.
Yes.
China has not looked after me.
Right.
Even though recently I looked at TikTok, I switched it off immediately. But it has not.
It has not.
Who has looked after me? This nation. And this nation is a nation which has thousands of years of tradition behind it.
Yes.
Some people may argue, so lay hundreds of years. So, therefore, I think, and also don't think that if I say I'm a nationalist or I'm a patriot, please don't think it's a crime.
Yes, absolutely. I totally agree.
It's a plus point.
Thank you so much, sir, to be so
No,
clear about it.
no, wait a minute. And today, things like yoga, philosophy, Vedanta, these have all become worldwide. People are appreciating us. Why can't we appreciate ourselves? I mean, it's very funny. Okay, so I personally think that along with growing up, we should also have a sense of belonging to a country.
Right.
And since this country is our mother, I don't want to use that word, it's considered to be a crime to say Bharat Mata. So, yeah, so, so, since we're, since this country is our mother,
Right.
where we have survived, born, looked after. And since it's called Bharat, so it is our mother.
It
So,
is.
yeah, so therefore, how will you protect your mother, your own mother physically?
Absolutely.
This we have to do also to the country where you are born and brought up.
So, because today's topic was on the teacher and the taught, and time is running out, so I have to moderate a little bit. I
Sure.
have one question, sir, on the dharma of a teacher and the taught. And I remember you telling us during the walk that just as the dharma of sugar is to be sweet, I wanted to know what is the dharma of a teacher, if at all it is possible to say it, and similarly, what is the dharma of a student? And you referred to something, and that's why this question has just come up. Is there a golden rule that a teacher should follow in the kind of relationship they develop with their students? And I know you know exactly what I'm talking about. I couldn't put it more diplomatically, but should teachers even teach for the love of teaching or for pecuniary benefits only? These are four interlinked questions, and if you could just share your thoughts with us.
Look, the days when teachers taught without any pecuniary benefits whatsoever, except voluntary dakshina, is over. Not there now. I mean, there may be, but it's hardly there. It's not possible because we live in a society where people come to teach. I'm sure many of the people who are teaching because they love to teach. It's not as if they're doing it like a job. Having said that, they also have to support themselves. So this salary business and all is there. But that should not be the most important thing. I personally think that those who don't have the calling for teaching, how does the calling for teaching come? There are some individuals who like to share their experiences with others, their knowledge with everybody doesn't. So only such individual I think should go into the profession of teaching. Then, whatever pecuniary benefits that they get, the money that they get is useful. Then it becomes a paying back for a teacher, like a dakshina.
Right.
But what a person who is gone into the teaching profession because he didn't get any other job, that cannot ever be a good teacher. So, when I say dharma, it means we have to look for people whose innate characteristic, which is dharma, is to teach and share. Such people should take, if they take up teaching, then they are practicing their dharma. As far as students are concerned, I think in general all students have this dharma of wanting to learn. What they want to learn is different. There may be a child who would think after some time, I must learn how to shoot. Another child who might say, I must learn how to maintain a good forest, wildlife, buildings, dams. See, so each child has its own idea. It depends on his exposure, what they have read, and also some built-in features.
Right.
Now the teacher's dharma should be such, there should be an ingrained, automatic kind of innate capacity to explore, to look at the child and figure out what this is child really interested in. This is the first step. If you teach the wrong thing, the child will not turn out to be a good student.
Right.
So the student's dharma is with an open mind to explore
Right.
learning. And the teacher's dharma is to find out what clicks with this guy and move that child towards that. If this happens, I'm telling you, all this suiciding because exam, all this will stop.
Right.
It's not so easy, but we need to work towards it. Now, in this context, I want to suggest for all people in education that there is a beautiful book by Ivan Illich called De-Learning or Unlearning, I forgot. It's a very small book. I think every teacher should read it.
I'll get in touch with Lakshmi Akka and get the name, appropriate name
Yeah,
from
yeah.
Ivan Illich. Sir, but
Elich.
I still want to press you on the golden rule that a teacher should follow in the kind of a relationship they should develop with their students. Because this is very
Fre-
important. We have teachers and students here, and you know the kind of problems society is facing.
the teacher should have a very sincere and clear relationship with the student, not depending on any form of exploitation. Very important. You can be friends with the students, but you cannot be friends with the students in the same way as another student is friendly to the student. Because you are an elder, you have more experience, you should be able to guide. And that relationship should not become a personal attraction and a personal relationship. It should be more to do with how you can improve that child rather than what advantage you can take of the child.
Right, sir.
Very important. I have summed up many things in this statement.
And there was one last question which I don't need to ask, but I'll still ask because you've already answered it. How important is it for a teacher to regard himself to be a student of his own students?
Absolutely. Because a good teacher should understand that he or she doesn't know everything. Very often, some of the things we don't know may be known by a student.
Right,
So, you should be open minded to learn even from a student.
right,
You shouldn't think I am a teacher, so what is this fellow trying to tell me?
right,
Which also means that a good teacher has to be a good student.
right.
And a good student will definitely become a good teacher.
If you permit me, sir, because may I request the teachers wanted to ask a few questions and we still have time. We started a little.
How much time do we have? We have 10 minutes.
We have 10 minutes, but maybe five because we started 5 minutes.
Okay, okay.
So we have 15. So may I request Priyanka call one of the teachers? Her question, sir, I'm going to ask so that you can answer. Priyanka, which,
Namaste, namaste, sir.
so would you like to ask yourself or should I ask for you, Priyanka?
Either
Okay,
way is
I'll ask for
fine.
you. Let's be efficient. With
Yes.
information on every topic under the sun available on Google, teachers stay relevant and uphold their position as disseminators of knowledge. This is Priyanka's question.
Yes. While I said that before, today Google is God, G, because it's all kind of almost omniscient. Okay, all information is there, but there is a difference between getting information from Google and a person personally sitting with a student and teaching, because Google is not doesn't have any human characteristics. It's computer,
Yes.
right? So it doesn't know how a child responds, what is the emotion of a child, uh, what are the emotional fine characteristic of the child who is learning. And that personal touch and relationship is missed. However, the teacher also can make use of Google to get information. But the student getting that information directly from Google is quite different from the teacher who can, having got the information, put it to the child. It is quite different. You need a personal touch. Otherwise, everything will become mechanical.
Absolutely.
So there is a difference. Now, we are forced to, even in our school, online is going on now. Online classes, online interviews. But nobody is really satisfied. It is a substitute. It's not the same.
It's
Same as
very
I.
impersonal. I agree. It's very.
It's not a real thing. So, therefore, I would say while Google is a wonderful thing, even Freemasons hand G in the middle of their hall. They would wonder how I know. But that G is God. And God is Google now. So, it's okay you can Google, but the personal touch should never be lost sight of.
Thank you, sir. Sir,
Thank you.
Meghala, will you come onto the screen, please? Sir, the next teacher is Meghala.
Namaskaram, sir.
Her
Namaskaram.
question is, what are the simple tools of transformation you will offer to empower teachers and educators? It's a little, I myself found empower in which sense I couldn't understand, but probably, sir, you can answer this one.
Mikala. Now, when I say,
I'll step in for one word, and you said don't be hypocritical.
no, when I say empower means it has some sound, a meaning like some kind of blessing to empower. No, if it means for the teacher to pick up what qualities are required to teach, I would say first there should be transparency. I should know how much I know and how much I don't know. Very often teachers get angry when students ask inconvenient questions, in the sense they don't know the answers. Yeah. So one should be thorough in one subject, okay, and one should deal with the students on an equal basis.
Yes.
The student who comes, maybe not in Vidya, but the student who comes in the Mercedes should not get more attention than the students who comes in a rickshaw. Uh, all I'm trying to say is they're all young human beings, eager to learn, and our idea should be to impart the knowledge as best as we can. Now, for that, we need to know first. We need to prepare ourselves properly.
Right, right.
What I'm saying is, because suppose I'm teaching in a small school which is free, like we have a Satsang Vidyalaya. I'm sure some of your Vidya schools are also like, they're free, hardly anything is being paid. So you shouldn't think because it is free, the quality should suffer.
Yeah.
This is one thing we should keep in mind.
Thank you, sir.
Yes,
Sir,
sir.
Amit, will you come, please? Amit, namaskar, Amit. Sir, Amit's question is, today when the impact of mass media is so high and our younger generation tends to look up to film actors and actresses, how can we hope to set better ideals and role models for students? I think you already answered it.
No, still I'll tell Amit that make the other part, apart from film stars and so on, so interesting to the mass media that the children listen to that.
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Yes.
Why do, yeah, so we should have an alternate entertainment for the kids apart from the popular films and all that go on. Right? So then the children would be interested in that, so that then they won't go there. Otherwise, there's nothing here, so they'll go there. It's glamour.
Sir, I will ask Uma to come, and I've been making a mistake. I think the teachers should be asking their questions. I'm sorry, Rashmi, I got carried away.
Say,
I would like to ask if winning is victory and losing is defeat, how can one find peace in this world?
yeah, so if you can win, if winning peace is your aim and losing peace is defeat, then there will be peace in this world. Change your mode of thinking. Winning is a good word. Losing is not such a good word. But you know what? Many losers are greater winners than those who have won, who they think have won. So, to lose is not such a bad thing. So, this is also something that children should learn from school. If you lost, you didn't get good marks, you are the last, doesn't matter. Make them understand that sometimes the person who does no studies but is throwing paper aeroplanes from the back desk is the one who may become the prime minister or minister or politician or something like that. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about our prime minister now. I'm saying politics. So losing, losing is not such a bad thing. In this life, we cannot always win. We may lose. But we have painted such a, you're right, we have painted such a bad image of losing that we think always we should be winning. It's a lopsided thinking actually, which should be corrected. Students should be told, even those who lose should be given a flower or some prize so that they feel, oh, I have lost, but I still got this.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Welcome.
Gayatri, will you ask your question, please?
Namaskar, Guruji. I would like to know, as parents and teachers, how can we address the problem of aggression in the younger generation and help them inculcate patience and be empathetic?
This is a very big question. I don't think we can have time now to answer. But let me tell in one sentence that if we are not aggressive as teachers, then the children will learn to imbibe that automatically. So, in our dealings with the students, don't be aggressive. Not you, I'm saying. We shouldn't be aggressive. You know, many of the children who go out and throw stones and fight on the streets, they are children who have been tortured and who have been very aggressively treated either at home or in the school. That reacts and becomes aggressiveness in them, and you see the aggression everywhere. So, as teachers, it is our prime responsibility to see that we are not aggressive first, and that they begin to understand how wonderful it is not to be aggressive. However, in certain things like studies and all, they have to be a little bit aggressive. You know, this is a very balanced, it's a delicate balance. You need to get it into them. Not being aggressive doesn't mean to bleat like sheep all the time.
Right.
That's not what I mean.
Thank you so much, sir. Uh, would Anjali, would you ask your question, please? Because we're running out of time. We just have 5 minutes more to go. So, Anjali, would you ask your question, please?
Sir, it is said that religions are like spokes of a wheel, all pointing towards a common supreme power. Then why do people still battle over religion?
Anjali, this probably is a very difficult.
It's a big question, yeah. And we don't have to, but I can tell you this, I don't believe that all religions are equal spokes of the wheel. No. That was something invented by some people during the freedom movement. I think religions are different. Anyway, we can't discuss this right now here.
Sir, one small comment on, do you think self-learning, exploring is better than being taught? Is it required?
It's very difficult to do self-learning.
Okay.
So even for self-learning, it is good that somebody guides us into self-learning.
Right.
The correct word in Sanskrit for self-learning is swadhyaya.
Right.
Which is swadhyaya. But for swadhyaya, there should be some guidelines so that people pick up how to do self-learning. That might require some instructions.
Sir, thank you so much today. I'll hand it over to Tara Akka.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. My pranams.
Pranam Shriyam. I'm not going to take any time because we've run out of time, but just as one single closing comment, I think what you have made very clear through this discussion, Shri M, is that the onus of all the learning really is on the teacher, from being a role model to making her lessons interesting enough so that it is even more exciting than watching an actress on a film. So I think you have shown that the onus of the learning really is on the teacher, and it's a huge responsibility.
Big
and
responsibility.
cannot happen without having a calling for this.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you so much for
Thank
this, and I'm sure all the teachers and students have loved this talk. And I've been asked to end with a song, and you were humming it just before it started. May I sing it?
Yes, please.
I was asked to sing your favorite song, and I heard you hum it, so that's great. And I just one.
Before this punchy flies off.
Absolutely, before the punchy flies off. Okay, there's one more announcement that the next Friday, the Vidya Knowledge series will be by Dr. Rajendra Barve, Bounce Back to the New Normal. He's a psychiatrist.
Okay, good. That's
and
nice.
also that Vidya has a gateway to support continued education through these COVID times on their website.
Very good.
So, okay. So,
That's nice. Hmm.
and I will just. उड़ जाएगा हंस अकेला उड़ जाएगा हंस अकेला जग दर्शन का मेला जग दर्शन का मेला उड़ जाएगा हंस अकेला जैसे पात गिरे तरुवर के मिलना बहुत दुहेला ना जानू किधर गिरेगा लग गया पवन का रेला उड़ जाएगा हंस अकेला दास कबीरा हर के गुण गावे दास कबीरा हर के गुण गावे वाहर को पार न पावे गुरु की करणी गुरु जाएगा गुरु की करणी गुरु जाएगा चेले की करणी चेला उड़ जाएगा उड़ जाएगा उड़ जाएगा हंस अकेला प्रणाम
Bye. Bye, Krishna.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Vidya. Thank you, Mrs. Mishra.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
thank you